Hi everyone, nice to see you all again today. I wanted just to come and start reading again. Get our Helen Keller book finished off, right? So just wondering how everyone's liking the Helen Keller book. Is it one that you had to read for school? Is it one that you just came across and started to listen to me read it to you? Anything cool about it? What's your favorite parts? What's your saddest parts? For me, my favorite part is with her learning how to communicate with Anne, like at the very first time, because yes, they had such hard problems with it at first, but they overcame it. And for me, that's my favorite because it's a life lesson. You know, you can get through anything. You just have to keep trying. You know, don't give up. And then my saddest part is when Helen Keller actually got sick and ended up being deaf and blind because of the sickness that she received. And that's awful. You know, when you do get sick, something can happen. So you just have to be careful. You know, you can be as careful as you can possibly be and still end up sick and having problems. So it's sad. To me, it's sad. So what are your guys' thoughts on that? So let's read on, because now we're going to read chapter 9 in the college years. So Helen began her college years. As hard as the Cambridge school had been, Radcliffe seemed impossible. There was never enough time. Annie spelled lectures into Helen's hand. Annie read the textbooks to Helen. It seemed as though they were on a treadmill. There was no time for a rest, or Helen would fall behind. And Helen felt alone. She and Annie lived in a small house off campus. It was far away from the girls in Helen's class. The girls were friendly, but many did not know what to say or how to act around Helen. Others felt odd because Helen was famous. So with a quick handshake, the girls ran off. There was no pictures in that page. And Helen was always working. She had no time to play, think, or daydream. She always had a paper due, a lecture to memorize, or a test to take. Helen's first year at college was hard and lonely. In her second year, Helen began to write themes. The themes were stories of her life. An editor at the magazine, Ladies' Home Journal, heard about the themes. He asked Helen if the magazine could publish them. He offered Helen the sum of $3,000. Helen was amazed. That was a lot of money. Helen agreed, and so she began the story of my life. $3,000 back then was a lot of money. It still is a lot of money today, but people always want more, right? So it seems like. Each month, the magazine published a new chapter in Helen's story. The first one went fine, but Helen handed in the second chapter late. The story was much too long. Neither Helen nor Annie knew how to edit. What were they to do? Friends told them about a fine editor named John Macy. John helped Helen edit the articles. The magazine loved the pieces, and so did the public. By the time the last chapter appeared in the August issue, the world was in love with Helen Keller. John Macy thought that Helen's stories could be made into a book. John added Helen's childhood letters and a section describing how Annie taught Helen. Helen's book, The Story of My Life, became a hit. It is still in print today. It has been published in more than 50 languages. Now Helen had a career as a writer. No one could ever say that this was not her story. It was her life. In June 1904, Helen Keller graduated with honors from Radcliffe. Newspapers around the world reported the event. Helen had achieved what no other person with handicaps had ever done. Now she had a college degree, but what was she going to do with it? There's some pictures. Annie also had big questions to decide. She and John Macy had fallen in love. He wanted to marry her, but what? Annie wondered what had happened to Helen. Could she lead a more independent life? Annie wanted to marry John Macy, and so they did in 1905. Helen lived with them. As for Helen, she kept on with her life too. She published a second book, The World I Live In. It came out in 1908 and told of Helen's world. It described how she used her senses of touch, smell, and taste to make up for her 2 missing ones. The book also revealed Helen's wonderful imagination and how she printed her world. The book was a hit, but Helen wanted to support herself. The money from the book was not enough to do that. How else could Helen make a living? So I'll have to try to find these 2 books and read them, I think. Those would be fun. So that was that chapter. And I will be back hopefully tomorrow for the next one. Have a great day. See you later, guys.